What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Scott and Ian Show on the SBL podcast. How you doing? Can you breathe through both sides of your nose? I struggle. I have a deviated septum, but last night I wore one of those things that opens your nose up. Gotta tell you, I think I got a pretty good night of sleep, albeit short. I'm a night owl. What do you do to self-sabotage yourself? I stay up too late. Eat Doritos and watch YouTube videos. What do you do? Hey, you guys, this episode is super, super fun. We're going to get into it today. Scott and I are going to talk about choosing the perfect bass. Oh my God. Oh my God. Don't we just all want the perfect bass? How do you choose the perfect bass? The search, the holy grail. We've described it as Excalibur before. How do you search for it? Isn't that what everybody wants? Well, is it? I don't know. What's the perfect bass for you? What does Scott think the perfect bass is? What do I think the perfect bass is? Does it differ per gig, per song? Oh, you're about to find out. This is a really fun episode. Before we get in, let me tell you what's going on at SBL this week. We have a brand new course coming out on Wednesday, April 19th, Rhythm Section Development Part 2 with the legendary drummer Steve Gould and me. The first one we did a few years ago went really well. We had a lot of great comments about it. We're just talking about things that seems like not a lot of people talk about. A bass player and a drummer in a room together, me and Steve Gould. I've played a bunch of sessions, gigs with Steve. We talk about his approach to playing drums, to thinking about playing with a bass player, locking in, syncopation. He shows me a bunch of grooves. I struggle to play them. Like on the drums or on lap drums. And he encourages you, if you are a bass player, to really think about life, think about grooves, think about music through a drummer perspective. It will give you a lot of value and tools to use in your rhythm section playing. So check that out. That's coming up April 19th. We also have a SBL mentor session, which we do every Monday. This upcoming Monday, April 17th, is Danny Mo Morris talking about the genius of James Jamerson. If you haven't seen a Danny Mo Morris mentor session, you have to. He's one of the best educators on the planet. He has a sound, he has a voice, he has context. He's incredible. So check that out. That is Monday, April 17th. And I think that's all I got. Let's get to this episode.
Imagine if I'm getting everybody excited. Scott's on keys, and he's sorry, dude, can't do it.
You're making a record, and you just got an exciting get in terms of musicians, and you should tell the people. You got to tell.
Oh yeah. So, I'm waiting. So Scott Kinsey is basically on keys, or we waiting just he was last night when I spoke to him. So I was
looking for those updates. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So last night when I spoke to him, he was on it. So wicked. Scott Kinsey of Tribal Tech is on keys, who is sort of just a phenomenon, just incredible. He's
one of the baddest fusion keyboard dudes ever.
Ever. Yeah, one of the baddest ever. So Scott Kinsey's on keys. We've got Dave Binney on sax, who is just one of the baddest sax players. He's like a monster. He's a freak show. I mean, in all of the greatest ways. So Dave Binney on sax, Gergo Borelai on drums.
Crazy.
Who, so he's obviously another freak show. Yeah.
Yes.
And Nate Worth on percussion.
Dude, Nate Worth
from
on
Snarky Puppy. Yeah. So the band's Scott Kinsey, Dave Binney, Gergo Borelai, Nate Worth, Simon King, who's playing guitar on it, who is another freak show.
Absolute freak.
and who's written all the tunes. So it's my size project. He's written all the tunes. And me on, I'm tud thumping on bass.
Get knocked down.
I'm tud thumping, dude. Oh, do you know that song?
Of course. That was a massive hit over here. Huge.
No shit.
Oh, absolutely. Chumbawamba, dude. Big, huge hit over here.
Dude,
Pissing the night away. We're we don't even know what that means. We love it. We sing it in the bars all the time. It's incredible.
Man, Jude, the trumpet player from Chumbawamba.
So if you look at, she's got my mind right now.
Short blonde hair.
Yeah.
She, her name's Jude. man I've not seen her in years. But like, I used to hang out with her. We used to do sort of like a music course together when I first moved to Leeds. I was like, I need to do a music course and meet some other musicians. And Jude was doing that music course. I used to see her every week when I used to do them classes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Blast from the past. Yeah, tud thumping.
Yeah, dude. Does pissing the night away mean getting drunk? Or does it mean wasting the evening?
I think it's me. Yeah, I'm not sure what it means. For me, if somebody was like, I'm just going to go piss the night away, it would mean I'm going to get drunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I love it, dude. I love it.
Oh,
great bass line on that tune as well. Great synth bass line on that.
Yeah.
Okay, Scott. All right. Look, we've talked about Excalibur. We've talked about, all right, you got to get an instrument for this. Is it going to be a P bass? Is it going to be a Ken Smith? Have you found Excalibur? How are you going to choose the perfect bass?
Well, it's actually freaking challenging. So I'm going to try and play one or two basses on the entire album. I'm definitely not going to use multiple basses, and there is a reason for it. The reason is that it's so the piece is incredibly challenging.
Yeah,
and I am going to need to know like just my way around this bass, or a couple of basses, like the back of my hand. Like,
because
when you really feel
super challenging, right? The material, just for context, it's hard to, like, if people don't know a fusion reference, what's a fusion reference you could give so that people understand the needs of this project in bass chair? Because it is not playing a 1-4-5, with eighth note kick drum pattern over a singer-songwriter tune like the stuff that I do.
No, it's
the studio.
Bonkers. It's incredibly hard. It'll be the hardest thing that I've ever played in my life. So
complex rhythms, solos, melodies.
I don't know if you can hear
the
this.
Bass.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear this, but try and count 4 through this.
Okay.
Oh no, it's 6.
I can't.
Oh, you can't hear, can you?
Turn it up. Crank it.
Could you hear it then?
Barely.
Actually, wait a minute. I won't be able to play it on there. Hang on. I might be able to play it on my phone.
As Scott is pulling that up, Scott was like, hey, check out these tunes that I'm going to be playing on my record. And I got up basically like a panic attack. I was just like, oh my God. I mean, like, it's so intense, and it's going to be so fun for all you fusion heads. And Scott, especially for you, because you're such a fusion head, but you've really walked into the waters with this one, my friend. Oh my God. It's so gnarly. So we're going to talk about how Scott's going to choose the right bass.
This might be it. Let's see.
Did you find it? I was trying to buy that time, dog. Oh, haven't found it yet. Cool. Haven't found it yet.
Great. Good times. Glad that we did that. Oh my word. Why is this not
but
working?
Seriously, did you find it?
No, I didn't find it.
Let me hit him with this then. So as I was saying, as Scott is looking for the track to play to you, we thought it would be fun today to talk about how do you pick the perfect bass, right? And how is Scott looking to pick the perfect bass for his thing? Is there such a thing as a perfect bass? Is there a different perfect bass for every situation? I'm going to talk to you too. I'm playing with an artist tonight, originally from Nairobi, Kenya. His name is J.S. Ondara. He is incredible. He has been described by many music publications as the African Bob Dylan. He is an unbelievable artist, and I've played with him before, and I am amazed. I'm going to get to go and work on another record with him. We're doing a couple tunes this evening. I can't wait. But the way I choose the perfect bass for that will be very, very different than how Scott is choosing the perfect bass for his project, right?
How will you be, like, what do you go through when you're thinking about doing that, like for that project, for instance?
Yeah. For that project, we still haven't found your track. Are you still looking for it?
Yeah, I found it, yeah.
Oh, you have?
Do you want me to play it?
Yeah, well, yeah, play it. Just to give him context of the pain you're about to go through, dude. The
4,
suffering.
5, 6. So that's like one of the guide tracks.
It's my nightmare. Dear God, it sounds like a nightmare. It sounds awesome.
Wait till the melody comes in. Here we go.
So, yeah. Okay, wait. Before I even answer your question.
It's not all like that, by the way. It's not all like that. Like, I'll play one more just to sort of like...
Yes.
These are just guide tracks, right?
Oh. That's lovely.
Yeah, so...
Still, dude, that is not simple playing. That is not just a roll in and fake it with the chops that you have in reserve. That is dedicated, gnarly practice. That requires an instrument that is a certain thing, right? And what does it require of an instrument?
Well, so for me, I'm going to be doing it on sort of like 1 or 2 basses max, and I'm really trying to find the sound for the project, and that's kind of like I'm not on it yet. I can't sort of like grasp exactly what it is. From a physical point of view, I need to have a bass that plays great because of how challenging the actual pieces are. So I need to be really comfortable on the bass, and it needs to play great. It needs to be a 5-string because there's so much of it is actually written on a B string. So that's not a negotiation at all. It has to be a 5-string. Arguably, on a lot of the tracks, it probably could be a 6-string as well.
Yeah.
Because it's just there's a lot of melody on the bass, and as I was saying earlier, I was playing on that F bass, and I was like, I'm running out of frets. I'm just like, I'm up there. So. But I think that I'm going to be able to do it on a 5-string. Originally, I wanted actually to do it on a 6-string. I talked about doing it on a 6-string.
That's right.
Yeah, and I actually got an F bass 6-string, thinking that I might use it for this project. But honestly, I just played it. I didn't enjoy having a 6-string. I was just like, it was just, and maybe it was that 6-string. I don't think it was actually anything to do with that string. That 6-string, that 6-string plays freaking great. It was just, there was so much. I'm like, come on, there's so many strings. I'm recording this thing in 8 weeks. I'm recording this thing in 8 weeks. I haven't got time to really sort of like, go nuts and learn a different instrument. So yes, I think I'm going to do it on a 5-string. But in terms of the sound, the one that there's a couple of basses that jump out to me that sonically really work with this music. One's a fretless. I've got like a Gary Willis fretless. It's the only fretless I've got. That works really well with this. So I'm thinking about using the Willis fretless on it or a fretless. Like part of me, because like Kinsey's on it. So Scott Kinsey used to play with Tribal Tech, obviously, right? So Scott played with Tribal Tech. You know where this is going, right? So Scott played with Tribal Tech, and then Gergo played with Willis for years, and old Tud Thumper turns up with the Willis signature. I'm like, come on, dude. They're like, no, okay. Willis wannabe, come on.
Yeah.
So, so we'll see. Like, the unfortunate thing is that I love the bass. So, I don't know. I might use it.
I've got a 5-string fretless I should just send you.
What is it?
I wonder if you'd like it. It's an exotic. No,
is it the exotic? Yeah.
It's exotic. It's British Racing Green, dude.
I do. Is it lined?
It is. Do you like that?
Yeah, I can't do unlined on this stuff. It's just going to be not
impossible.
Because I'm
it's
just
lined
all over the place.
It's active.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll send it over. Yes.
You know what the thing is, though, man? I love that Willis bass. I love that Willis bass.
I know you do. Yeah, you need to paint it pink, like you told me.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, I said to Ian a couple of weeks ago, I'm gonna paint it pink, and I'm gonna paint the ramp black, so it just looks. So maybe I'll disguise it from Kinsey and Gergo.
They're gonna go. They'll be like, what's under that pink paint?
Is that Willis's? Is that a Willis signature? I'm like,
no.
Oh no. And nothing against Willis's signature either. Gary's signature is freaking awesome, but you know where I'm coming from. Everybody knows where I'm coming from. You know, come on, give me your break.
Yeah, but that's a 4. So you're cool with having a 4 because my exotic's a 5.
It's a 5. It's a 5.
The Willis is a 5. That's right. Of course it is.
Yeah, the Willis is a 5.
That's right. That's right.
Like, and I've been using this on it.
Yeah, banana base.
The banana base. That sounds pretty nice on it. The one that really jumps out, I'm just hanging it up over there. The one that really jumped out, actually, from a sonic perspective, and really fit in the mix really well, was actually the Kent Smith 4 that I've got.
Yeah,
it sat in the mix really well, but it's a 4, and I need a 5. So
yes.
I'm trying to pick up a Smith 5 on a bit of a whim at the minute, and like whether it works out and I use that for the project, I don't know. Like, who knows? I'm just sort of like going, I'm on a bit of a search at the minute. But if it doesn't work out, hey, I can sell these bases afterwards, so it's fine.
Or give them away.
Sort of like, or give them. I need to clear out, man. I'm getting too many bases.
Nah. And +1.
Yeah, because
never enough.
Every sort of like, if you've been playing bass for like, I don't know, like 20 or 25 years or something like that. No, more than 25, nearly 30 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, and every year you're like, oh, you maybe buy like 2 basses or 3. Who am I telling? Oh, you know this shit, right? And then you get to like 30 years in and you're like, oh no, I've got a lot of basses. So yeah.
This is a big problem now. Yeah. Oh God, I know.
All that to say that I haven't found Excalibur yet. I just haven't. I messaged Marcel over F-Bass today, just earlier actually, and we were talking about doing like a signature bass anyway, but that's not going to be ready for this. No way. But sure. I was just asking, I was like, hey, do you have a 5-string that I could rent from you? Or do you have like a fretless, basically? I was like, do you have a fretless I could rent? Or do you know somebody that I could rent it off? Or do you know any dealers that have a 5-string fretless? Because those F-basses, the fretlesses, are awesome. Like, I've played one before.
They are. They're awesome.
Really nice. And here's the deal, man. I'm comfortable on this F-bass down here.
Yes.
So I know kind of sort of like what I'm getting myself into. Like with the exotic, I want to be like, yeah.
Oh, dude.
But like part of me is like, I don't know what it's going to be like physically. So
of course, yeah.
I wanted me to send it over, and I'm like, yeah.
Oh, it's all good. It's just a big jazz bass. I mean, it's essentially it's just a jazz bass body with a thin jazz bass neck, but wide. 5 ebony, but it's killing. But of course, it's like, dude, you need a nimble race car that you are comfortable with and comfortable in. You do to play this music. I can't imagine. It's my nightmare. It's my nightmare. It is not what I do.
It is my nightmare. It is so hard. Honestly, it's so hard. I was like, I'm sure maybe we talked about it a couple of podcasts ago, but there was this section of one of the tunes, and I was like, I think it took me an hour to get like these 4 bars down. The timing's so all over the place on it. And I was on like Simon, obviously I mentioned Simon wrote all of these tunes earlier. And I was on with Simon last week as well. And he was like, I have no idea how to write this into notation. He was like, I've got no idea. He's like, it's crazy. Like, we were laughing about it. I was like, it'll be fine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah.
Dude, when in doubt, just do what I do. Just kick on a drive.
Kick on a drive.
And I feel like, like Tony Levin has this great ability to do this thing. Like when he played Liquid Tension Experiment, yes, he was playing a bunch of those lines, but there were times too when he'd have a big sound and go, like play these monster pedals over stuff.
Yeah.
You can do that too. You can do that too.
I'm going to try and figure it out. I had a realization actually yesterday because I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do like, because I basically, just for context for everybody listening, I run my entire, Ian knows this, I run my entire life out my calendar. Like every single minute of my day is accounted for, and I'm sort of like squeezing as much in as I can. And like, and in that, I've been like doing a Thursday morning is work on these tunes. That's been my Thursday morning. Well, I didn't realize Thursday morning. Yeah. I had a realization yesterday. I was like, oh shit, I've got like 8 Thursday mornings until I step into the freaking fire. And there is no way that 8 Thursday mornings is going to prepare me for what I'm about to step into. So I was I need to revisit my calendar and try and
Yeah, you
this.
do. That blows my mind. I would think you would be on this every day. Do you think you will?
I can't because my hands. I can't because my hands. It's a weird situation. Yeah, because I've got focal dystonia. I need to be really careful about how much I play. Otherwise, what will happen is I'll practice my ass off, and then I'll get to the actual when we're supposed to be filming, and my hands will be shot to bits, and I won't be able to record.
Hands will say, nope.
Yep, that'll be it'll be that situation. Yeah, so it is a weird one. It is a weird one because if my hands were normal and I could just do what I wanted, I'd be practicing all the time. I'd be practicing every day, every night, and stuff like that. But I just cannot do it. I don't think I can practice more than. Like, because these practice sessions, I'm having to sit down and work on it for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of stuff to get through, a lot of melodies to learn and stuff like that. So I probably can do no more than 2 a week. I reckon I've got... So in reality, I think I've got 16 practice sessions and then I'm stepping into the fire.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a man that can do it, Scott Devine. It's you. Oh, God, I wish I could be there. Oh, I wish I could be there. Oh, for real.
Oh, my word.
I'm just going to be sending you the most positive vibes possible. It's going to be incredible.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be fantastic, And Simon's going to be there. The lads are going to be there. Nick's on it. Like, Dan's coming. Dan's going to be filming it and stuff like that. All of it's going to be, like, we're going to be filming the entire project for the YouTube channel and stuff like that, which will be awesome.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm nervous for Simon as well. I'm like, oh my word, we're like, it's
insane.
Because he's like up front. Cool. Yeah, he's like playing guitar on this, and it's monster stuff. It's really, really hard. Like, side note that he's just a complete freak show, though.
He is.
Like, he's almost sort of like, it's kind of freaky. Like, it freaks me out when I think about it. I'm just like, oh, it is. He's so good. If you don't know what I'm talking about for the listeners, the guy who's wrote the tunes for this project that we're working on, he's called Simon King, and he is a guitar player. But all of those tunes that I just played you there, he's playing all of the instruments on that. So he plays all the guitar, all the bass, all the drums, all the keys, all the percussion. He is it's really outlandishly peculiar.
And if you've been on SBL and you have waded into the murky shark-infested waters of Player's Path level 9, or that's any Player's Path, that's Cy playing on. I mean, it's Cy writing the tunes, right?
He
for
wrote
all
of
stuff.
Player's Path, the entire thing,
all of it. Yeah, and you get a taste of what he loves in like 7, 8, 9. You're like, oh, this is a fusion guy.
yeah. And
it sick. There
was never a question, dude. When I sat down with Lisa one night, we were like, I was like, I want to do like a recording project. I need to find somebody who's a badass, who can write some amazing tunes. And she was like, what kind of tunes? I was like, fusion. And then I thought for about a millisecond, I was like, it's Cy. Like,
it's so cool.
He's so good. Yeah. So good. Bonkers.
So
anyway,
how about this, though?
Let's talk about basses. About choosing the perfect bass.
Yeah, like for those of us out there that are not about to step into a studio with session fusion gods, like how do I choose the right bass, Scott? How do the royal we choose the perfect bass?
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? That Ian and I were talking about this before we hit record on this podcast. And when it comes to record, like finding the perfect bass, really, obviously the headline is, well, there is no perfect bass writ large for everything, but there absolutely is the perfect bass for specific projects or specific songs. Or specific artists you'll be working with, right? So what we thought we'd do is dive into that. And when we were discussing kind of like a framework that we would use if trying to figure out what the perfect bass was, Ian was like, one of the most important things first up is a reference point. And I was like, oh yeah. Do you want to talk about that for a bit?
Oh, I mean, I just feel like in my entire band and studio life, the biggest success that I've had with finding the right thing, finding the thing that like, and when I say the right thing or the perfect thing, the perfect bass, it's the thing that you're like, oh, this sound fits. It's the sound that makes the track feel the best, whether that's supportive or whether that's out front and gritty or whatever it is. It's whatever serves the track the best. And I think even a step up from service makes it better. I'm always looking for the instrument, the sound, the approach, the bass line, whatever it is, that not just supports the song. Like you hear a lot of session players say like, oh, what's the thing that's going to serve? And serve is great. I want to serve, but I always want one notch higher. I want service, but then also like, oh, without that sound or that line, this song wouldn't be as good. I want the thing to make it better. So for me, the most success I've ever had is when there's been a very clear reference of what we're going for. So
are you listening to albums? Are you listening to like the album? Are you listening to other people's albums that might be in the same kind of space? Like what are you doing? What's your process?
Absolutely. Like I just did a track for these German producers that wanted something like Miley Cyrus's Flowers, which is, a brand new tune with this cool bass line that just came out, and they wanted that vibe. So I was so thankful to get that, because then I'm trying to find, is that a pick? That sounds like it could be on flats with a little bit of drive. So what's the instrument? So then I narrow down these parameters to then pick the instrument and the setup and the strings that I think is going to be the perfect thing for that recording. So for me, it's the reason I say, I'm like, well, I need 40 basses, Scott, because, in my world, oh boy, I'm really having to choose. Now, that said, I could probably get it done on 38. Just kidding. I could probably get it done on 5 maybe, right? But I want to be able to reach for the thing that is going to make me feel like, this is a good starting point. So for me, the instrument itself is the starting point. I've talked about it like I'm a casting director, and who's the actor I want to put into this scene? Is it the Rickenbacker? Is it Mr. Rickenbacker? Is it Mr. P bass? Is it Mrs. Jazz bass? Like, who am I going to put in? And then I'm thinking maybe about strings or effects or something, but it's about references. Another just great, if someone says McCartney, it's a gift, because now you're thinking probably about a Hofner, a short scale, a hollow body, plunky.
Hollow body.
Yeah. So it's about listening, right? It's about knowing those references and not pretending to know them. But if someone says Beatles, if someone says Tribal Tech, if someone says Tame Impala, someone says Beastie Boys, like knowing what those things mean and then doing the listening enough to decode that and wonder what that right sound will be for a project.
When has it gone wrong? Like, when have you ever stepped into a project? Maybe you're sort of like, you're probably too experienced for this now, but if you look back in your youth, when did you get it wrong?
Dude, I get it wrong.
The wrong bass to the wrong recording to the recording session.
I
whatever.
get it.
Maybe you didn't have a reference or something.
Yeah, I continue to get it wrong. And sometimes I found too that like when people say they want something, sometimes I think like what they want is actually different than what I perceive the reference to be. I did a pop track where it was like bass led and, kind of like short, super syncopated. Doom, 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 doom. And to me, the reference, I can't even remember what the reference was, but I was like, a P bass with flats really dry is going to be the vibe for this. It's going to be really cool. And then they ended up wanting, they wanted something crunchier with a little more grit. So then it ended up being a jazz bass with rounds and a little bit of drive. So I chose the wrong thing, and all good. No one gets hurt.
Right?
I retrack it with something else. But yeah, I get it wrong. I get it wrong occasionally where I think like, dude, when I get it wrong, Scott, if I'm honest, I get it wrong when I think I know better than the client. That's when I get it wrong.
Yeah,
when I think that I'm so experienced and I'm so good. I've been doing this for so long, and I've got all these bases. I'm going to pick the right one. And when someone says they want this kind of thing, and in my mind, I turn that around and think, they actually want this other thing, I think.
Yeah.
That's when I get it wrong.
And it sometimes doesn't turn out. They absolutely knew what they wanted.
Yeah. And to me, it really is a gift when people really do know what they want. And maybe then they hear it and they say, oh, you know what? Now that I'm hearing that, I'd love for it to be something different. But I love it when people give me a target. Versus say like, hey man, do your thing. There's nothing worse. I mean, it's flattering. If someone's like, hey man, do that thing, do your thing on this. And I go, okay, yeah, awesome. And I do whatever that means. I interpret that to mean either two things. They want something kind of like synthy sounding, or they want something kind of like cowboy. There's that like spring reverby thing too. It's like, those are sort of the two things right now that are, quote unquote, my thing, or that's what I get asked to do. And, but then sometimes I send that stuff and people are like, I think I just want you to play like regular bass. So I pick up the P bass.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So sometimes it's a reference provided by whoever you're working with, and sometimes it's provided by you listening to other.
It's a good distinction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that's got to be true for you too, right? Like when you're stepping into this project, you could choose to play a P bass on it, but A, it's not going to be nimble enough for you, and B,
it's not going to be nimble. Yeah, this is not the sound. Yeah, exactly. And to get into this space, I'm listening to players that are playing within that similar genre, which is like jazz fusion, right? So I'm like listening to a lot of players, and I'm trying to identify what does it for me and what doesn't. And what doesn't do it for me is equally important as well,
right?
Because like it's just really important. So like players like John Patitucci and Jimmy Haslip, Scooty Sverrisson, Matt Garrison, all of these guys all have different sounds, but within a similar kind of sonic space, right? And some of them I really like, and some of them I actually don't like. Some of them I'm just like, meh, I don't really like their sound. And nothing to do with their playing, actually. Like they're playing. All of the people that I just mentioned just there, their playing is just absolutely freaking phenomenal.
Yes.
A great example is like there's a bunch of Matt Garrison stuff that really like the tone doesn't grab me. Actually, the opposite. I'm like, I'm not. That's not for me. It's just I need more bottom and more mids and stuff like that. And he's an amazing player. He's more than an amazing player. He's
absolutely, of course,
complete god, right? But just that sound isn't for me. There was a tone that I really enjoyed that Schooley was playing on an Alan Holdsworth record, and I loved that record. And I actually listened to it over and over. I listened to it and I was like, I don't think this is the first time. I've listened to that record hundreds of times, maybe more than hundreds, thousands of times. And in many ways, when he was playing bass down the low end, I really liked the tone. And when he plays a solo, it's the best solo I've ever heard. But tonally, for the thing that I'm searching for, wasn't the vibe. And that was really interesting, because I thought I'd be like, oh yeah, just like Schooley, but it wasn't. It was actually another indicator of actually, that's not the vibe that you're going for here. You don't want that sound. So yes, I'm trying to find these references to guide me to what could be the sound that I'm going for.
And for you, when you're making those decisions, is it gut? Is it like, just like you have this feeling, you're like, I love this playing, but it's not really the sound. Why do you make that judgment?
It's just, for me, what is it? It's how it just sits within the mix, just how it feels. I think a lot of it is to do with the mid content of the tone. That's the bit that I always sort of like gravitate towards. I think that there's a certain, I don't like it. I like sort of like a lot of mid within the sort of like the frequency. So if it hasn't got that, I'm just like, I need more of it. So for me, it's that, like, And again, I can name great players that don't have that specific thing in their tone, and they sort of like have more of a scoopy vibe. And it's awesome for them, but it's not. It doesn't resonate for me. So that's what I'm looking for. But also just to say as well that the difficult thing about it is, for me at least, especially with this project that I'm working on, is that the physical part of it is really important as well. So, and
of course, yes.
A great example of this is sax players, right? So, and I think it was like Mike Brecker who said this, or maybe somebody else, but the thicker your reed, the harder it is to play the sax, right? So the thinner the reed, it's easier to fly around on that thing, but the thinner the tone. So it's that balance between like getting the right thickness of reed, so the tone's great, but it doesn't get in the way of what you're trying to play. So there is an element of that as well, where I'm sure that I could listen to a record, find a really fantastic reference, and be like, that is the vibe that I'm going for. I could get the bass and be like, oh, I can't play this thing. I just cannot physically get around it like I need to.
Setup or the way it's ergonomically designed.
Exactly that. Yeah. Just the way it's ergonomically designed.
Yeah. So you're not going to play the Rickenbacker on this thing.
I am not going to play the Rickenbacker. No.
I wondered if you've tried any of it on the wall.
It's a 4-string. I need a 5. It's all written for 5. It's all, and trust me, I have thought to myself, because that Ken Smith sat great in the mix.
4-string.
I was like, I could rewrite these parts for 4.
Yeah.
I cannot rewrite these parts. It's all over the place. There's like full runs that go from like the B string right up to the G and then down again. And it just doesn't. And if you start going, and sort of like playing the octave higher instead of on the B, it just doesn't sound like it should do. So I'm kind of
great.
I was going to say I'm caged into the 5, but I'm actually. I'm kind of glad. It's given me some guardrails. It's like, it has to be a 5. It has to be a 5.
Versus any bass ever.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's but that's, I guess, sort of like, just to bring it back to what we were talking about, that's how I've been trying to use reference points to guide me towards a specific tone. I don't think I'm there just yet. I really like the way that Ken Smith's sit in the mix. My Ken Smith sounds great. Really like the Willis bass.
Yeah.
God Willis. I'm just going to wear like a Gary Willis t-shirt. That's how I can.
That's incredible. Well, you talk about guardrails, guide rails, whatever. What word did you use?
Guardrails.
Yes.
Guardrails.
And I think it's the same for what I do. It's like the sonic references are the guardrails, right? I've got all of these instruments I could bring. I could be the jerk that brings 15 basses to a session. I kind of used to be that guy. God, dude, I used to roll into stuff thinking that my professional demeanor would be demonstrated by the amount of shit I brought into the studio. Make some choices, use those references, and guardrails, parameters, barriers are actually very, very helpful because it limits down that option anxiety. Now, you might only have one bass. Well, all good. Problem solved. But if you're somebody out there, if you're somebody out there that's just got, if you've got a bunch of things and you're trying to make the decision, really listen to some music. And something that I do too is I'll listen to stuff and I'll just play along. And I'll think like, wow, what nails this? Whether it's that 90s rock thing that I was doing with the Spectre on the end of the Pickups Part 2 podcast. Like, that's such a vibe. And I've brought that instrument into a session and it's like, oh, it's just the perfect, like, yes, I'm so glad I have this. But obviously it's not the right thing for everything. So is there something that's right for everything? I don't know. But can I admit something to you, Scott Divine?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Can I,
Speak
a deep,
easy.
Dark admission?
This is a safe place.
This is a safe place.
Yeah.
I almost never feel comfortable or like it's the right sound with a traditional P bass.
Wow.
I know. And sometimes it is. And
even when other people do. Even when other people do.
Okay. For me, when other people do, I'm like, damn, that sounds great. It's almost like I have this weird thing with the P bass, and I'm not talking about the single coil P bass, which I love. My two favorite sounds in the world are a jazz bass neck pickup and a single coil, like early 50s style P bass pickup. Those are my two favorite sounds. But when I get that split coil traditional P bass pickup in my hands, I always just, I kind of think that it sort of sounds like this. And I can't shake it. It's like, it's so chewy and it has so much like high mid-range content that I feel like I want to kind of start to EQ it out, but that's the thing that makes it sit really nice in the mix. And then when I hear you play it, I hear Hurley play it, I hear Jamerson play it. I mean, dude, I have tried. Someone even pointed out this piece of content of mine, Scott, recently, where I kind of had this admission on something else where I'm like, actually, I really prefer the single coil P bass thing. And someone pointed out that I said in a Noble video that like, oh, you know, and when I'm playing a P bass with flats, which is the thing that I play for 90% of the work that I do. I think I said this douchebag sentence, the 90% of the work that I do. You know, God, stupid. Like this is how I always set the preamp. And that was when I was trying to be one of the cool guys.
Got it, yeah.
It was when I was
when you
trying
felt like you needed a P bass, yeah.
I had to because you, LaFave, Hurley,
you sounded great on that P
everybody.
bass, by the way. You sounded freaking awesome on that P bass.
Thanks, dude. I mean, it's funny because when I hear recordings, dude, I have a weird thing. When I hear recordings, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. But it's when I have it in my hands. And I don't know why, but I can never make like fast friends. I've taken them on tours. I'll take one to a session. I might even take one to the session tonight because I know that it is the right thing. But I struggle to realize that when I'm interfacing with it. Why?
Oh,
why am I broken?
That's so interesting. Well, I'll throw this in. It's not going to help you, but it's just sort of like it's as weird. It's as weird. That's why I want to share it. Is that I was doing this fretboard challenge thing the other day. I was doing these live streams, right?
Yes.
Shout out to anybody that came along to that. It was a blast. So we did this 5-day fretboard challenge. Anyway, and we were all on Zoom and stuff like that. And the first bass that I used on the first recording was the Ken Smith 4-string. And I haven't played it. I've like played it a few times with the tracks, just like I've told you, but I haven't played it in ages and ages. And dude, like the sound of it is really unique. It sounds like a Ken Smith. It doesn't sound like anything else. And I sounded like shit on it. I sounded awful on it. Here's the weird thing, right? It was the sound affected the way I was playing. So, and then on the next one, picked up the F bass and the sound. I've been playing this F bass a lot, and my body knew exactly what to expect and how to respond to that instrument, but it didn't know how to respond and act with that Ken Smith. And I've done gigs on that Ken Smith, and I've done it, you know, used it for stuff and all of that. Yeah, and it's been wicked. But that day, I sounded like shit. And I think it's because I just haven't played it in a long time. It's tonally has its own thing. And my body didn't know what to do with it. It was like all out of sync. It was weird. Yeah, it was a weird experience. So it's all that to say, I kind of knew it wasn't me as well. I was like, this is interesting. I sound like crap. But it's definitely me. You know, it's definitely me playing. It should sound okay. But I was like stumbling, the sound. It was kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah, and it can sort of like spiral you almost. Like you're trying to, now you're changing your hand position, you're changing the knobs, you're wondering if your headphones have the right seal. You're like, man, what's going on? Yeah, you're so in your head. Man, I wonder if I just haven't spent enough time with a P bass.
That's why I mentioned it. Just someone if it's like a physical thing that your body just doesn't know how to respond to that sound. Maybe you feel a bit weird with it under your hands and your fingers.
Can I ask you another question? This is weird.
Space, dude.
This is weird.
Well, have you got like a funny colored pube or something like that?
I mean, probably, but that's not the question.
I wonder if you get grey pubes. I've never had a conversation with a man with grey hair. Next guy I meet with grey hair, that I feel comfortable. We're in like a safe space.
You're going to ask him about their pubes?
I'm going to be like, dude, like, do your pubes go grey?
I love how this has turned into that. That's incredible.
Safe space, hit me with it.
When you find out, will you let me know?
I'll let you know. You were the first person I'll text.
Cheers.
Sleep easy.
Thank you. I don't have to ask.
Hey, Gav's pretty grey on Team SBL. I'm going to hit Gav up, actually.
Ask him. Ask Gav.
Yeah. After this conversation,
right
I'll text him. I'll be like, dude, we need to have a chat. Anyway,
right.
Safe space. Go for it.
Here's my question: Has a sound of a bass or playing a bass ever elicited in you a physiological response? I'm going to clarify that. There was a time for me that dude, it's starting right now. This is so weird. When I would play a P bass, I would salivate. I'm not kidding. And I don't know why. It's happening right now. Oh, it hasn't happened to you? Okay, cool. Never mind. Let's edit this out. It's all good. Cool. All right. Cool.
I was when you said that, I was like, yeah, like every time I play a low B, my face kind of melts. Like, like every time I hit that low B, like, I get that Anthony Jackson sort of like floppy face. Have you seen that? Like Anthony Jackson's got the best bass face ever. Yeah. Like,
yes.
But and then some like when I'm playing like a fretless and I hit sort of like a low wah, my shoulders kind of creep up into this sort of like wah. I kind of like become like a praying mantis. But no, I have not.
Dude,
I've not got like a salivating mouth. Really?
Dude, there is something about the mid-range of a precision bass with flats. So specifically with flats, when it's sort of like woody and boxy and like mid-range chewy, that when I play it, it's like I've tasted like a sour fruit, or it's like I'm hungry and someone put a meal out and I haven't had it yet, but I smell the whatever, right? I smell the pizza and I salivate.
That is awesome.
What the fuck is wrong with me, dude?
By the way, do you know when you were saying it? I started salivating because you were talking about salivating. So now, my assumption is that we're going to... Seriously, it's doing it now.
Yeah, yes.
I did not know that when you talk about salivating, you actually start salivating. Yeah.
You do.
Like a freaking St. Bernard over here. You know, like... People will be salivating in the gym listening to this and in their cars, and they're like,
I don't know, dude. It doesn't happen to me with any other sound. It's so weird. It does not happen with a jazz bass. It doesn't happen with a 50s P bass. It happens with a split coil P bass, tone all the way up, flats. It makes me freaking salivate, and I don't know why, and I wonder if that means I need to lean into it.
Maybe.
Or if I need to run away from it. I don't know.
Man, I do not know, man. I don't know. It's like, I don't think you need to lean into it, man. Like,
I don't think I do either. It's all good.
Salivating aside, I just think sort of like, I think there's something, for whatever reason, within the sort of like the texture of that tone for you, that you prefer the neck pickup of a jazz bass.
I sure do.
And I think that's it. I think that is it. You don't need to wean yourself onto that split coil. You don't need to feel bad about it. You just
feel bad about it though.
Maybe you just need to get like a P bass and pull that split coil out and stick a freaking jazz bass just
sacrilege.
On it. Do it on a 62.
Oh God! Just with a Dremel. Dude, there was a piece of content that Fender made with Sean Hurley a long time ago. I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. Sean, if you ever listen to this, God damn you, because he said this thing that just cracked me up and I haven't ever been able to shake it. He said that a P-bass, Scott, was a quote unquote real man's instrument. Sean, you said it, dude. Do you remember? Do you remember traumatizing me?
Did you just shrink?
Yeah. He said
I'm not a real man.
He was like, oh yeah, P-bass, I sort of realized, it's on stage playing some sick gig, probably with Mayer, and he's like, oh yeah, I kind of realized it's like the real man's instrument. And I went, oh.
He's so cool as well.
Oh yeah. And I know the problem is I just feel like he's right. That's the problem. That's the reason I'm upset. Oh my God. But it was that comment hit me for some reason. And I'm like, yep.
This is it.
Haven't been a real man my whole life. I got to get to it. Dude, and I start playing these P basses and drool's coming out of both corners of my mouth like an asshole. Oh God. And it just took me a long time to realize, like, man, this sound isn't it for me. People request it, and of course, I'm happy to play it. I have a lovely 65 precision bass. It's right here. I have a lovely, and that always has flats, makes me salivate. I'm salivating right now just thinking about it. And then I've got this 58 custom shop with rounds. It's killing. They're awesome instruments. I play them. They're the right thing. They sit in a track. But for whatever reason, I prefer to just suffer and struggle and try to get a 50s P or a jazz bass neck pickup to sit in a track. And anyway, that sounds like a personal problem, and it is for me.
It's all good, dude. I'm looking at our list here. We've actually gone through most of the stuff on the list, but the last actually we haven't gone through. We've gone through sort of like getting references together. We've gone through getting an instrument that really delivers the right sonic landscape or sonic vibe for a particular track. We've also gone through what's going to feel comfortable, right? So, like physically, that isn't
That's right.
for all styles of music, but certainly for some more challenging styles of music, the physicality of the instrument matters because you're going to have to be able to blaze around that thing. And that's when we started talking about, that sax thing as well, the thick reed, right? Sax players, they want to use a real fat reed, but they can't play that thing fast enough, so they have to find that balance. And then the last thing actually on the list is the aesthetic. By the way, I'm salivating so badly. I'm drooling like a Saint Bernard.
I'm so sorry.
Bubbling up under my tongue. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, I'm just going to swallow that.
Oh, dude.
Weird, dude.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, but aesthetic, like for some circumstances, obviously really matters. Like it really does matter, doesn't it? When you were talking about Sean Hurley there, like that aesthetic does matter. Like Sean Hurley is not going to be rocking it out on stage with John Mayer with his 6-string fretless or whatever, or even just take fretless around, just fretless. He's not going to do that. It's just not going to be the right vibe.
Or even a fretted instrument that just doesn't look like a classic, there's definitely, I've heard about Steve Jordan and aesthetic. It's a big, big deal. It's like Steve Jordan, wants bass players to essentially be Pinot, right? To play with an SVT and a P bass with flats, period. End of story. But I get it. I don't think that stuff's dumb, actually. I think that aesthetic is really important. I think about it a lot. Like when I think about going to a gig, dude, this is a really good point because it's not just about the sound. It's about how the vibe of the instrument, right? And the character of the sound. And that's typically connected to a certain style of instrument. So, for instance, tonight, this thing that I'm going to go do, it's going to be more of a vibey, vintagey thing. I'm not going to show up with my Ken Smith 6-string, for instance. I just won't, even though that might actually be really cool for some stuff. And it might, win people over after they heard it, but it's going to be pulling stuff out of the case in the studio. There's this moment where you sort of are like showing your cards. What did you bring? Everybody's hanging out. You pull stuff out and people, and people go, whoa. Like I remember bringing a dingwall to a session, and like pulling it out of the case, and it's that D-Rock, and it's such a sick instrument. And everybody went, oh, okay. And I was like, listen, the golden spaceship is going to take you to a magical place. Okay, it's gonna be amazing.
Isn't it interesting? It really, if nobody has experienced it before, this is the real thing. Like,
it's real.
You will never feel more comfortable getting to a studio and pulling out a P bass ever. Like that is the
damn
most.
It.
It's you're so comfortable, aren't you? You just get the P bass out. People glance around. They're like, they know exactly what it is. They're like, yeah, cool, right?
I know.
Jazz bass, they probably look around. Here's something funny. They probably look around and think, oh fuck, I hope he's not going to slap that thing.
or they say, or they go, it's passable, but they also then think, I wish it was a P bass.
Yes, yeah. There's not the ease, because the P bass says something, doesn't it? It says,
I know.
Hey, don't worry, I ain't going to slap this. It's like, don't worry, I'm not going to do any tapping.
But I do some tapping. And I do a little slapping. God. Yeah, I know, man. I know. It's so true. It's so true. I've got a double bag today loaded up with my 68 jazz bass. It's trash sunburst with flats. It's as close to a P bass as I like to get.
It's cool. And if they're trashed, it helps, because they need to be a bit trashed, doesn't it? Because everybody's like, oh, he's a pro.
That story.
He's a pro. He knows what's up. Yeah, it's so funny, isn't it? Man, I did not know any of this shit when I was younger. I can remember like turning up to the studio with
I know,
6 strings, like custom maple tops. And I'm not saying that is bad at all. Anybody listening to this, you're like, what? I thought this was all cool. Hey, I love the maple tops and the 6 strings and all of that stuff. But in certain circumstances, especially like when you're working on your own projects or in bands that you're in and your friends, like, you can use anything you want. But when you turn, what actually, we should have said this actually, but so just for context, what Ian and I are talking about is like when you turn up and you sort of like, it's sort of like, it's a proper, what's the word? It's like it's a project there's probably vocalists on it. There's like,
you're being paid, you're being employed.
You're being employed. You're definitely, it's not your project at all. You're there to serve a function within the band and stuff like that. And those engineers and those vocalists and, and everybody in the band, they know exactly what a P bass does. So it's sort of like this, when they see it, they're just like, they're not going to worry about it. But when you whip out the 6-string signature bass, they look at the thing and like they have instant fear. But I'll tell you what, somebody who just, love him. Boom Bishop, dude. Boom Bishop just sails over all of this, because Boom Bishop is like, or
Goucher. I mean, there's a lot of people, right?
There is.
Yeah.
I would say that the gospel thing's slightly different. That's maybe if you turn it with the P bass, they're worried. They're like, whoa.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Where's the MTD?
Exactly.
Where's the Smith?
Yeah, it's just lanes, right? I mean, the modern gospel thing or the modern R&B thing, Bobby Lewis comes to mind too. I mean, Hubert Eves comes to mind. I mean, man, Hubert Eves I feel like has the most incredible sound on an MTD. Makes me want an MTD. Yeah, and I would love to be able to be in that world, even just for a day, and play those sounds and hear how the Smith 6 fits into that space. It's just not my reality, but I love it. But I mean, I think having some emotional EQ around what instrument you're going to bring, know what music and what instrument and what references are going to be the thing that is going to put the room at ease, and you will work forever. If you can figure that out, like for me, I mean, like tonight, I should probably bring a P bass. Maybe it'll be a single coil P bass. Maybe I'll bring the 51. Dude. It's a mic drop, Divine. That was a mic drop.
As you were, Alison.
But bring the thing that puts the room at ease, even if it's going to make you drool all over yourself.
And hey, and also, we're only with that final point we're making about this aesthetic thing. That only comes into play on certain projects. It's not all projects. If you're sort of like not involved in sort of like that kind of scene at all, play what the fuck you want. Just
doesn't matter. Exactly.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, just do what you want.
And sometimes I think we make it too big of a deal out of it. I've made too big of a deal out of it. We're thinking like I have a couple of snarky friends that will make comments about a bass that I'll play, but then I'll bring that bass to something and no one cares at all. No one cares at all. They're just happy that I showed up with a bass. They don't even look at the bass. They don't care. And so sometimes, that thing of like, oh, you always have to show up with a P bass or whatever it is. Or if you're in a gospel environment, you have to always show up with the PV Cirrus or the Ken Smith or the MTD. Like that's kind of, we make a little bit of a big deal out of it. It might not be true for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, PV Cirrus, I haven't heard that in a long time. Those PV Cirruses were awesome. Do they still make them?
Dude. I don't know. Those are killing though. They're like the poor man's Ken Smith.
Yeah, loads of people said like I saw it on online. People were like, hey, if you can't get a Ken Smith, get a PV Cirrus. Let's see if they still make them.
Yeah, do they?
And they had two different models, didn't they? Is that right?
Maybe.
There was there not an American made one as well?
Well, they're all American made. Did you know that?
Oh, were they all American made?
At least up to a certain point, everything. PV was an American company. Ma and Pa Hartley was the guy. Hartley PV. I can't remember his wife's name.
Oh, wow.
But they sold to Ma and Pa shops. They weren't in any of the big monster music retail spaces in the beginning. Like they weren't at Guitar Center, and
they would.
No, not in the beginning. Their whole company identity was to sell to like the local stores. Of course, that had to change over the years, but it was all American made. But since it was in the like Ma and Pa stores, I feel like it sort of got a bad rep as like, like local, small time, but dude, some of that PV gear was so sick.
Dude, it was bulletproof.
Yeah. T40s are sick.
Bandit? Can you remember the PV Bandit?
Amp?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I have a Bravo that belonged to old Bob Allison, a PV Bravo, which was like the Bandit, a 112 combo.
Yeah.
The kind of like black, gray, and teal aesthetic.
Yeah. Man, that was awesome.
Those sharp, pointy corners. Oh, lest we descend down the PV rabbit hole.
I'm just looking at PV Cirruses now. There is two different versions. There's one that's made somewhere else, I think, and one made in the USA ones are like. So this is used is like £2,200. So like $2,500. But then you could get, and then there's a USA custom £2,000, which is like $2,500. But then you got the other Cirruses, which are like around sort of like $600-700. So there's
incredible.
There's two different models. Yeah,
so they make those.
I did play one once. Yeah. Anyway, dude, you think we've covered it off?
Have we shown everybody how to pick the perfect bass?
Yeah,
we have. Job done. Job well done.
Job done. Right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out and listening. If you took nothing from this, take the drool.
Oh my God, I regret
that
it.
That is awesome. I'm gonna be playing basses now. I'll be like, does this make me?
How's my salivation level?
Yeah, and if anybody's wondering about pubes, I'll update you. On the grey pube thing over the next few weeks. Fear not. If you were there listening to this and you were worried, you're looking down, you're showering, looking at those lovely brown locks of hair, and you're worried that when you reach those mature years, aging like a fine wine. If you're worried that they might, might lose a little colour down there, don't worry, I will tell you. And on that note. Let's call it. Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy. We'll see you in a bit.
You guys are the best. Take care, everybody.